Hi, we're back with Review or Die. It's me, Ryan, and I'm here with Toby once again.
Hello.
We haven't budged a bloody inch, but we're here to talk about The Conjuring 2, which I reviewed earlier, but now Toby's seen it.
I have indeed, yes. Before our pub lunch, I managed to get to the cinema and see The Conjuring 2. And my thoughts are somewhat mixed.
Yeah, so you may have hopefully seen my review of it on the YouTube channel, or go have a look. But basically, I quite liked The Conjuring 2. I was a fan of the first one, I was a fan of the second one. The only issue I had with it was the whole CGI-ness, shall we say, of the monster, as it were. But I felt that the film it kind of made sense because of that later on in the film. You, on the other hand, you have more issues than I did.
I did. I think there are a couple of problems. I seem to be starting lots of reviews with there are problems or there are issues.
And yet I go, surprisingly, I really liked it.
Yeah, that's why we probably compliment each other quite well. No, but I mean, in all seriousness, the first problem that has to be addressed is the length.
I will admit that.
The beauty of the first film, despite me thinking it is relatively forgettable, the beauty of the first film, or James Wan's earlier works, such as Saw, is their tautness. They're so tight and tense that all the action is very claustrophobic and sort of within either one space or a short time frame. Mm-hmm. And this is drawn out over a period of over 2 hours 15 minutes, which is a very, very long time.
What was that little bit of trivia you were telling me a minute ago or earlier about the Warrens? They didn't appear.
Well, yes, the Warrens don't actually visit Enfield, which is where the predominant story takes place in this film. Yeah. Until they're about an hour and 7 minutes in, an hour and 10 minutes into the film.
That astounds me. I mean, I didn't notice when I was watching the film, because I wasn't looking for that. But just the idea of that is astounding. It reminds me of back when King Kong first came out. It was an hour before they left the island, and an hour after they left.
I mean, for me, that's where the real issue is. Because you've got all this setup, all this sort of exposition, all these quite good set plays actually as well. But the problem really is in that it doesn't get moving quick enough, and you lose interest, particularly in a genre which is full of cliches or conventions like horror is.
Yes.
That's where an issue is. So that was one of my problems. Secondly, I think that before I say this, it is worth saying there are some lovely set plays in terms of making you jump and making you scared, of which I won't say on here in case you haven't seen it. But I mean, as I do like horror, and as a fan, I think seeing some new sort of inventions, or even some old tropes reissued and reused, if they make you jump or they make you scared or frightened, I think the director's doing a really good job. And James Wan obviously is, but I think he's maybe been a little bit indulgent with some of them, and not really. He probably needed someone to maybe rein him in on some of the elements, and that's where I think it maybe falls down again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it in my review, as far as I'm aware. But another issue I can think of, like off the top of my head now, is I think you said this earlier when we were talking, is that the main antagonist, if you like in the story, the main baddie, doesn't seem to do too much.
Well, that dovetails onto my third issue with it, because you are absolutely right. The villain at the end, obviously there's a twist and a turn in who the villain is or what the villain represents, but then the villain is, shall we say, rid within about 6 words, and a set play which lasts for about 5 minutes really is what it comes down to. And you can't build up such tension, or attempt to build up such tension, because I think this does attempt it and it doesn't actually fully succeed, without having some sort of dramatic payoff. So for me, that's an issue. And another problem, I'm almost going to rant here, but
it's fine.
The way it ends as well, I found quite beguiling. It was a little bit odd. I think I can't really say too much, obviously, because
I know
of
what
the
you mean.
podcast,
The
but-
thing they build up towards, you think it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen.
Well, no, I mean, it cuts away with some text, which I won't say what it reveals or how creepy it necessarily is, but then we cut to a shot of the family dancing to an Elvis song, which...
Well, I find that very creepy.
It goes... I mean, I did at one point. I mean, but the problem is it goes from horror to love, which... It doesn't. You don't walk out of the cinema with that satisfied feeling of, oh, that's creepy, or it doesn't leave anything with you. You just walk out thinking, meh, that was okay, I suppose.
Yeah. See, the horrible thing is now, despite me loving it, I can see all your valid points. The other thing I do want to bring up that isn't necessarily a completely bad thing, is just the fact that during the sort of when they were promoting the film,
Yeah.
they made a big deal about the Amityville case being part of the story.
Yeah, that was a major part of it.
And there is, well, it's there, but you don't
In a
see
very
anything.
small way.
It's mentioned, is probably the best way of putting it.
Yeah, because it is. It's just there
It's
very
the-
briefly.
I think. Do you see the house? Or have I made that up?
From
Amityville. Do you see the house? Do you see a house that's supposed to be Amityville house?
you see inside it, don't you? At the start, I think they set it up at
You
the
see a
start.
guy with an axe, do you, walking
think-
along? Something like that.
See, I mean,
It
this
sounds like this is all possible.
This is ridiculous. I've seen this film, X amount of hours ago, and I'm struggling to remember. Not because I haven't, taken note, or not because it's not committed to memory. It's just because it is very forgettable. It's very
Yeah.
middle of the road horror, and Wan is better than that. I think he's proved it with the first film in this series. I think he's proved it with Saw, and for it to go down this road of just being very average and very mediocre is my summation of it, essentially.
I liked it.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
I've got nothing else to add. I will say, something I admitted to you earlier as well, was the fact that as much as I like it, I do not feel, partly because of the length, partly because of, as you said, the forgettable plot, that it will stand up to a second viewing test.
I don't think it will at all. I think you'll lose your scares, you'll lose your jumpy element. But our audience to this podcast may disagree. If
Yes.
you think differently, if you think, like Ryan, it was actually a really successful piece of horror, and that Wan is one of the pioneers of modern day scares and thrills, then let us know. If, like me, you think it was a little bit poor and some of the set plays were contrived and cliched, then of course let us know. And of course, any horror films you can recommend for us to review or watch, let us know. Give us a shout.
Sounds good to me. But, of course, there will be a Conjuring 3.
Well,
It's a horror film.
a trilogy
It's a horror
with everything
film.
these days.
It's a horror film that has already got a sequel. It's going to get another one.
On that note, whether that's a good thing or a bad, we shall leave you.
See you later.
Goodbye.